Happy Friday, everyone. It is Kim and Penny. We're here with lighting up your Fridays with the 5 stars of strengthening families. And we are going to continue our talk about resilience. And I'm going to let Penny, we're going to check in, I guess, with you guys and then ask you a new question. So I'm going to take it away, Penny.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I just wanted to check in with how your week went. So last week at the end of our program, we had invited you to think about practicing the skill of resilience through setting and holding your boundaries or your limits. Just seeing how that went, if anyone took the challenge on and gave that a try, and give yourself credit if you did, and give yourself grace if you didn't, because it's all about doing what you can do in the moment. So as Kim said, today we're going to get a little bit more into the meat of resilience, talking about, so last week we talked a little bit about taking a time out for yourself, or taking those moments when you need them. And that kind of, as Kim mentioned, leads us beautifully into the topic of how do you care for yourself while caring for others? And I know you've heard me beat the self-care drum quite a lot, and I know that it's quite a big industry. Today, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the less commercialized forms of doing that, or that's what comes to my mind when I think about it. I'm going to let Kim take this one and run.
Well, when it comes to taking care of yourself while taking care of others, the first thing that comes to mind is just carving out some time for myself. And when you were asking about the homework, I'm thinking, how did I do last week? And I think I have to fall into that category of giving myself some space, being kind to myself, because it didn't happen every day. And so I'm just kind of shooting for a higher average, I guess, this week is my goal. But carving out some space, even just to drink more water, those were my goals. Drink more water, spend more time outside in nature, do my yoga stretches, which is just my own idea. I don't follow any program or anything like that. I just do my own, whatever I think my body needs. And maybe read a little bit. So I've got quite a few that I can pick from. But there are days that go by that I don't hardly do any. So I have to be kind to myself for those days that I have not, and continue to work towards those goals for the next week. How about you, Penny? How did you do with your homework? And what are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself?
Well, I've been, maintaining boundaries hasn't been an issue for me all my life. Being the youngest of the family and trying to please people. And so, there's all that stuff there. And I'm doing better at, first of all, remembering to set the boundaries soon enough, and to just gently remind those around me, because change is hard for everyone. And so if you've always been away, acted away a certain way, and then you change that way, it's hard on those people that are closest to you, because who doesn't love someone who's available all the time? Who doesn't want someone who's willing to, and that's not their fault. Wouldn't I love to have someone that I could just have at my beck and call? Yes, I would. So that grace towards others for that change, which is difficult. Grace to myself, because I'm not always going to do it. But yeah, so around my, bath time, that was the thing I'm trying, continuing to maintain that idea of, please do not knock on the door while I'm in the tub. Again, unless absolutely an emergency, which is this, or this. So I did okay. Again, like you said, not every day. Yeah. And what's interesting to me is when I think about caring for myself while caring for others, I thought about it while you were talking, and now I've lost it, Kim. Why does this
That's okay. That's okay. I wanted to mention something about what you just said. So maybe while I'm talking, you'll remember. um, what you said was when we do things for everybody all the time, and then we all of a sudden change, that they may react to that. What it made me think of is when we're doing things for everybody all the time, we're taking that opportunity from them to be able to do things for themselves, right? So here we think we're doing this loving thing, but actually it's kind of almost stifling them a little bit and not allowing them to grow. So if we can kind of shift our thinking about that, that helps us to let go of some things and take off our superhero cape and fold it up and neatly, of course, and put it in the drawer, and would not wear that all the time, right? Especially when you're having a nice bath.
So it eases, I think I'm hearing you say it takes some of the guilt off when we can look at it as a skill building opportunity for our families and our loved ones, that they need to learn how to fend for themselves, and they need to learn that as a caregiver themselves someday, if they choose that, it isn't a requirement that you lay down your whole life for those around you, that you are a human and you deserve time and all those things, and so do they, and working out those compromises between the two.
Yeah, and on the flip side, if we're in a really stressful environment, and we don't even get the opportunity, it seems, to take care of our nurture because we're barely just keeping our head above water too. That's another way, right? And we need to, I think the key or the theme that I'm sort of already hearing is just to go easy on ourselves, because we are all doing the best that we can. We really are, even though it doesn't seem like it, even if the best is just, getting up and showering, that we are so hard on ourselves. But when there's so much that, it could be emotionally, it could be some physical restraints that we have, it could be, our mental health, all of those things could be, there could be financial strain, we have to cut ourselves some slack. And I think that's the part that we don't often do.
Which is exactly what I was going to say, interestingly enough, when I wrote it down, was for me, the number one thing I do to care for myself, well, I try to do, is to practice radical self-compassion.
Yeah.
Which one of my favorite authors, Glennon Doyle, talks about this concept of, we kind of went from, the perfect mom and sort of social media, this kind of idea of perfection. And then the pendulum really swung to like hot mess, right? Crappy, what does she call it? This crappy version of myself. And I'm fine with that. I'm a hot mess. I drink wine, and that idea that we as humans, we tend to make radical shifts. We want to get away from the idea of a perfect parent or caregiver. So we radically shift to whatever, right? I can do whatever, say whatever. I don't need to be perfect, but I'm going to swing so far the other way that I also don't hold myself accountable. Yeah. So when you bring the self-compassion element in, it's important to recognize that you still are responsible for tiny, medium-sized, large humans. So with that comes some responsibility and a little bit of giving up of things. And you can do all of those things and still be very kind to yourself. So self-compassion means, okay, I served peanut butter and jam for the 10th day in a row for supper. These are the reasons why, and I'm not a bad parent. And what do I need to do to help myself for the next meal provide one thing that's healthy? So a little step. Well, I can slice up some cucumbers to go with those peanut butter sandwiches. So it's allowing yourself grace for feeling depressed, tired, overwrought, all those things you talked about, financial stress, mental health challenges. I'm a human, and it's okay. And I am responsible for other humans. So how do I take care of myself so I can provide them with, the care they need? And checking in, like when you said, maybe that's just getting up and having a shower. What's my capacity for today, right? Because we can, I kind of think about it like, you can kind of borrow on a day when you've got lots of capacity. So if we're sticking with the meal, so there might be, 3 days where I'm just like rocking it, fruit, veggies, healthy snacks after school. And I'm like, okay, so then for the couple of days where I'm like, yeah, eat whatever you want. Oh, macaroni and cheese again? Sure. So it's like, okay, I look at their nutrition over a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you can give yourself a little grace. So look at your capacity. Your capacity for today is just to get out of bed and tell them that you love them and make sure they're fed. Well, okay, that's your capacity for today. I think in that compassionate aspect, it feeds you, and that increases your capacity for next time instead of the guilt, the shame, right? All those things we don't want to do with our children, guilt, shame, we don't want to do those things to ourselves either.
That's right. And I think what I'm hearing you say, Penny, is it's about balance. It's really about balance. There are days when we're going to have it, and there are days when we don't. And if we're out of balance, if there's many, many days that we don't have it, then that's when we might need to reach out for some support. We're needing a little bit of help, right? And I mean, we can do self-care, but there are times when we need a little bit more. And there are lots of community resources, out there to help. And I think reaching out is actually another one of those things that sometimes can be hard to do. But boy, after we do it, it sure can feel good, and it'd be a bit like bricks coming off of, and relief, right? So the hardest part often is reaching out, but just knowing that we're out of balance, that we're needing a little something. Somebody once told me, and I don't remember exactly who it was or where I heard it, but it was just, on those days, if you can just do one thing, just one thing. And sometimes then the sneaky little thing happens, you do the one thing, and the next thing you know, you're doing the next thing and the next thing, or not. Like there's no pressure. Just do that one thing. It might be you didn't do the dishes last night, so today I'm going to do the dishes, and that's the one thing. I gave that advice to my daughter, and she said, "Mom, that was the best thing you could have ever said to me, because I got everything done." She said it was just so surprising. But when you sit there and you think of everything that needs to be done, it weighs you down. Just take it into little baby steps, and that's even with the reaching out, just a baby step. Just I want to say make that phone call. It's a baby step, but it could be just looking it up or looking into it or talking to a friend even and saying, look, I think, I'm feeling this way, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I love that little step thing. I think that's great. And at the height of my parenting struggles, when my kids were little, I found the Fly Lady. .org, and she's really great with that idea of, she's big on timers. So set your timer for 5 minutes. You can do anything just about for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Big projects especially, so breaking it down. And you'll often find that when the timer goes, you'll be like, oh no, I'm 3/4 done, I can just finish. But that idea of letting yourself off the hook, I can do it for 10 minutes. And sometimes 10 minutes is all you can do. Walk away, it'll be there when you come back.
Yeah.
So that's a really excellent idea about the tiny little bits at a time and how that builds your confidence and it fills your bucket because you feel better.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing too, I heard you say, and what you were saying, taking care of yourself, there's always eyes on you, always little eyes. And so you're modeling that, because we're all human and we all have those days, including our kids. And this way they can see how we work through that, and that it's okay to not be perfect. perfectionism is actually really debilitating. It really, you know, like it stops us from before we even start because there's not enough time in a day to get it perfect. And there's not enough. What's that?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say this, and it's an unrealistic goal because we can't do it. We can't be perfect.
Well, yeah, isn't that what the experts say the number one personality trait behind procrastination is perfectionism?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to start because you think it has to be perfect, and so that just defeats you before you even because you're right, it's an unattainable goal. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So again, cutting yourself some slack.
Because we get triggered, right? We get triggered on a regular basis by the people around us, our families, our and why we're triggered is usually about us, not them. So like you said,
it's tricky though. It feels like it's them. It certainly feels like it's them.
And it could be their behavior is triggering something in you, which seems like them because it is kind of them, but it's you, right? So that kind of gives us a nice little segue into next week, because next week we're going to talk about giving your children the freedom to be who they are, and the space and sort of the barriers for you around allowing your children to grow and learn and grow into themselves as opposed to your version of. So loving the child you have versus the child that you thought you would have, or some of those kinds of ideas, and when that's really difficult for you. So,
or that you want them to be.
So
your
stay
hopes
tuned.
And dreams.
That'll be next week. So for this week, Kim, what do you think's one small step? What can we invite our watchers to do this week in regards to caring for themselves while caring for others?
Gosh, I think I'm going to have to go with going easy on yourself. That's my cutting yourself some slack. That's what I kept hearing in our talk today, and I think that's what I'm going to have to. That's going to be what I'm going to practice this week as well, and what I'm hoping that others will do.
All right.
How about you?
Yeah. So we're gonna same.
Okay.
What came into my head was be impeccable with my word. So when I tell myself, I'm gonna stick to what I say. So if I say today, I can get the vacuuming done. Or who am I kidding? I don't vacuum. Okay. I'm going to make sure that I serve vegetables with every supper meal. Then I'm going to, make the effort to do that. And even if the main meal suffers a little because of that, so be it. It's a tiny thing. I can slice some cucumbers. That I do. I don't vacuum, but I slice cucumbers.
And I'll do the vacuuming. I need to vacuum my stairs, so I'm going to vacuum my stairs. I don't like the stairs to vacuum. But okay, we'll check back.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember, as always, www.fcss.ca. If you need to reach out for some support or just have a quick Google and see what we offer, please do. And have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday at 1.
Happy Friday.